Starting. All right, welcome everybody to the Brett and Matt show. I'm Brett, that's Matt, and with us today we also got Cortland joining us. We're going to discuss a little bit more on our NBA free agency stuff, get Cortland's point of view. And Cortland, I'm going to start right off with it. Lakers fan. Uh, Based on Twitter, it didn't seem like you were too excited about what was happening at LAL. What are your views on that so far?
Yeah, man, I'm disappointed in what's been going on. I just feel like that, they're just waiting. It's just like a countdown for Kobe to leave the organization. Obviously, they gave them, a massive 2-year extension worth, almost $50 million, and that really handcuffed their ability to, make plays on the free agents that, they tried to get to. They tried to get LeBron. They tried to get Melo, they tried to get Dirk, and everyone said no. Everyone went their separate ways, and it's just kind of frustrating because as a Laker fan, you're used to reloading and getting the big free agents, and then after getting the free agents and signing a supporting team and then making a run in the championship. It's kind of like championship or bust. So, I was kind of frustrated with the way they handled that and then missing out on the big free agents, and then now we seem to be overpaying guys, who we already had, such as Jordan Hill. He's getting $9 million this year, and he'll have a team option the next year. And then Swaggy P got a good amount of money. So yeah, I know, right? Nick Young. And so it's kind of frustrating that we missed. I mean, we whiffed on multiple people, and then last year we missed on Dwight, and so it's just kind of like, are we? It's not the Lakers anymore. We used to be, Tinseltown, Showtime, attracting big talent, signing big contracts, and now it's just like, we're going to be watching the lottery balls for the next 2 years.
Hey, man, just look at it this way. You just need to give it a couple years. When Westbrook becomes a free agent, if OKC hasn't won a championship, he's going to want to come home to LA. He went to school at UCLA. I mean, there's some hope here.
It's a glimmer of hope, and I try to be optimistic. I try to look at it, and I still hope we make some type of offer for Love, and like you said, Westbrook in summer of 2017, Durant in 2016. But yeah, I mean, we're pretty much handcuffed for the next 2 years, and we're going to be waiting on those guys. Hopefully they'll opt out of their if they have player options. I think they don't have player options. I think their contract's just up. So we're just going to have to really hope. Like you said, for something like Westbrook to come back home. I was kind of hoping, Devin Harden would want to come back. I mean, not Harden, but James Harden. And I was kind of hoping that Paul George would want to come back home. But obviously, they signed extensions and we missed on that. So I don't know, man. It's looking grim for my Lakers.
Well, when it was all going down, you were, I think pretty vocal against signing Melo, at least. Why would you be so against Melo being a Laker?
I like Melo as a player. I think he's a very versatile scorer. I honestly think he's the most versatile scorer in the NBA. And a lot of his troubles have come just because he hasn't had help. But I just don't think with his game, I don't think it would work well with Kobe. I mean, if you look at it, they both average about 20 shots a game for over their careers. They both shoot on a good night, 45%. Sometimes they do get hot or whatnot, but over their career, they're usually mid 45% field goal shooters. So
they're volume scorers.
We're talking about 40 shots a game. We may make 16, 17 if we're lucky. And in the way that they play as far as their mid-range game, I feel like they play in the same place, although Melo does have a post game. And I just, for players who are ball dominant like that and volume scorers, I just don't think it would work. I love Melo as a player, and but I just don't think it would work. I was totally against it. Obviously it would have made us a little better, but I don't even think it would have put us over a hump. We still wouldn't be able to beat the Spurs 4 times. We wouldn't be able to beat the Thunder 4 times. So, there's no reason to spend $96 million on him just to get put out in the first or second round.
I agree. And if you look at it from another Lakers perspective here is, you were against that Jeremy Lin trade because you thought at first at that time it would be helping out Houston, right?
Correct. Correct.
And then all of a sudden Chris Bosh just pulled what he pulled longer in Houston, right? So I mean, does that make that trade a little bit easier to stomach for you, knowing that you got picks back as well as an expiring contract?
Somewhat. It does make it not so bad. Like you said, it's an expiring contract. We have to give him the first and a second for that. And so, and he's not that bad of a player. I mean, he's not terrible. It's not exactly what I wanted. You know, my hopes were here before free agency, and then they went down to Jeremy Lin. So, you know, it wasn't that bad of a deal, but part of it is because I'm so passionate as a fan for the Lakers. It's just kind of like when you don't get your way, you're like, no, I hate it, you know. So, but Jeremy Lin's not that bad. I mean, we have 4 point guards on the roster right now, so I'm hoping that we find a way to dump Nash. I don't know if it's going to happen, but obviously he, you know, voiced his desire about getting paid. He needed the money, so I don't know how into it he's be for this last year. So I'm really fine. I really hope we find a way to maybe dump him to maybe a team that is willing to take on an expiring contract and maybe has some young players that they need to mold, or leadership, I guess I should say.
Cool. And let's see, we had some other things that we wanted to discuss too. Since you just mentioned, you know, what was going on in Houston, that whole Bosch thing, but them just giving away Parsons.
Oh my goodness.
How dumb was that? I mean, I know the contract's big, but I mean, he's a young guy, and I think that's something that they shouldn't have done. What's your view on that, Cortland?
Man, I for the life of me, I don't know why. I mean, they would let him go. Now, granted, again, I do think Parsons is a glorified role player. He played well among stars. He made some big shots and big plays for them. However, you know, I think he got 3 years, $45 million.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, that's $15 million. That's a lot to pay for, you know, a role player when you already have basically 2 max players on your team. And then you basically replace him with Ariza, who I like Ariza, but Ariza is an aging player, and his defensive abilities, especially on the perimeter, aren't what they used to be. So, you know I've read some reports that they're looking to trade for Rondo, but at this point, what are you going to offer for Rondo? You know, you don't have Parsons, you don't have Lynn, you don't have Essex, which had big contracts that could fill the gap, you know, monetarily speaking. You know, it would have been hard for me to keep Parsons because of that money, but I think they really should have done it. He worked really well with that team and made some big plays, and I just don't think Ariza is the answer.
Well, what I find interesting is that Houston just kind of let him walk. You know, he was under deal for I think $1 million coming into this year if they wanted to keep him, and then they were just like, yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll let you test it because we want to free up space. Like, I don't know what the point really is. Other than at that point you can sign him to a term deal and keep him for the 7 instead of letting him play out that, you know, that 4th year and being an unrestricted free agent. But I think that was just a pretty poor mistake. And you mentioned them too here, the Celtics and Rondo. I was just on, was this Spot Track or whatever?
Yeah.
That's the site that I use. The Celtics are over the luxury tax at the moment. How is that even possible? Like, that team is garbage. Who are they spending money on?
I wouldn't have guessed it would be
right? If they can trade Rondo to free up space, he alone would get them under. He would go from being over luxury to under, I think, the ceiling. So if they wanted to then sign some other players, but
I bet they'd deal him. I bet he's out.
Do you have any? Do you think he would be a fit anywhere, like any point guard needy team? I mean, he's a pass first guy too.
He's a pass first guy. He's not. Yeah, he's not a good shooter.
There's a lot of teams that could use him. I know the Pacers were trying to get a third team involved to make a trade. He would fit really good there. Houston obviously needs him. You know, there's a lot of places he could fit in.
He
And
could
like,
fit in real nice in a lot. Yeah, I agree.
yeah, yeah. Are you serious? Boston's over the cap?
Yeah, they're at. I just
They're horrible.
Boston is at 78.8.
Oh, wait. Do they still have Chris Humphrey's contract, or they get rid of that?
No, that because he was only on a hold, so it didn't really count against much.
Hmm.
So who's on the books? Rondo. They still have Crash,
They
right?
signed someone to an extension. Shoot, what's his name? Shooting guard.
Avery Bradley.
Yeah, I think it's Bradley. Didn't they just sign him to an extension? I think
Yeah.
You got Rondo. Oh, is this the 2014 cap year or the 2015 cap year for a second? It's 2014 cap year, right?
14, 15.
Yeah, so it'd be Ron Wallace, Jeff Green, Marcus Thornton, who I think they just got in a trade.
Yeah.
Avery Bradley, Brandon Bass, though I think he's being shopped at the moment. Keith Bogans, Joel Anthony, Marcus Smart, Kelly Olenek, James Young, Tyler Zeller, Jared Sullinger, who, I mean, for the player he's making chump change. Christopher Johnson, Chris Babb, Phil Pressey. Just at that point, you're just getting to guys. At least those last three are unknown, or not unknown, but they're unguaranteed. So they can just release those guys and just save that money. But that's less than $3 million between those guys.
Huh.
What's Danny Ainge doing? I mean, is he even showing up to work? I mean,
He's
what's
got
going
a
on?
Oh man. He needs to blow that up and just start fresh. It's so weird because you're so used to hearing like the Lakers being so dominant and Boston's usually really good, and now here are these two marquee, really big name franchises, and they're both kind of trying to rebuild their team again.
Yeah, it's crazy. But
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you. I think they'll deal Rondo. You know, Avery Bradley can play the point, and they did draft a point guard as well. So
Yeah, they drafted Marcus Smart. I mean,
right,
the writing's on the wall.
right, exactly. It's probably just going to the highest bidder now and to see who's going to give them this best deal.
Right.
At this point.
Yeah, I agree.
And so far we're however long into this, and we haven't even mentioned LeBron James yet. Do you like
Come
it?
on us.
Do you like what he did? Like,
Yeah,
what
let's
is
hear your thoughts on this.
Well, the thing is it didn't have anything to do with basketball mostly to me, and so it's hard for me to really debate that and say okay it's good or it's bad because you can to me I can tell that it was more than just basketball in his mind when he made the decision. He wrote that letter talking about he felt his calling was to go back home. His wife is pregnant, getting ready to have another child, and I know she had expressed a desire to go back to Cleveland, to be around the family. And from what I've read, that just his friends and other family had kind of been pushing him to come back. So, I'm totally for it. I think it was great how he kept his mouth shut throughout the whole free agency. I thought that was awesome. He didn't really say anything to anybody. He didn't go on meetings. He didn't get on a TV show to announce his decision, which I thought was great. But I mean, I think it's awesome that he's going back home to try to be bigger than basketball. Try to get involved in the community and help young people and all that good stuff. I think that's awesome. But then at the beginning of the day, then I read he signs a 2-year, $42 million deal or something like that. And when he has a player option next year. So I had this feeling in my heart we're gonna be doing this for LeBron every single year, and every team is going to just keep $20 million in the back pocket and make a run after him every year. So, as much as I felt the heartfelt letter and I thought it was cool, at the end of the day, LeBron's still a businessman, and so I think we're going to be seeing this year by year, this opt out. Agent visits a couple of teams, find out what's the best decision, and then we have a new collective bargaining agreement coming out in the NBA in a couple of years. So, he'll be eligible for more money. So, at the end of the day, as much as we want to think it's heartfelt and it's going back to Cleveland, going back home, he's still a businessman. It's still about
getting paid.
Yeah.
He's getting paid. Yeah. He had enough of being he's had enough of being not the highest paid player on his team lately.
Right?
Which I feel him. I'm doing all the work. Pay me.
Yeah, and you mentioned that he's definitely getting paid. Do you think that hinders them at all in perhaps their attempt to try to get somebody like Love? I mean, to try to keep Love long term. We looked at it, with Love, Kyrie Irving, and then LeBron. Like, what's your cap space going to be, moving forward? Especially if LeBron does that opt out every time and get a max deal with the new, TV money coming in. He's going to be making some money, Michael Jordan money, at some point at the end of his career, perhaps. But is that something you foresee them doing and being a good idea, or would you just keep Love away and just keep Wiggins if Wiggins has to be involved?
Oh, here we go with the trade question.
First of all, whatever you have to do to trade for Love that doesn't involve LeBron, you should do it. I mean, we're talking about Kevin Love. We're talking about 26 and 12 every single night. He can go off for 40 at any given moment. He can spread the floor. He can shoot threes. He can offensive rebound. He's a ridiculous player. So to me, anything that doesn't involve LeBron, they need to trade it. But
I love it.
Yeah, I just don't understand. I mean, Wiggins, he's got some upside. That's cool. But
Yeah,
Love's
exactly.
doing it right now.
Exactly. Wiggins could just be like a really good defensive player. Like, you don't know he's gonna become this superstar player. Like, Love's already there. You trade him and you get Love.
Exactly. But like Brett said, I do think it's going to kind of hurt the Cavs if LeBron continues to do these one-year deals, because Love doesn't want to come there, play, sign an extension, and LeBron opts out. Now Love's right back in the same predicament he was in Minnesota. And we already know I've read that Kevin Love really wants to, play on the West Coast. He went to UCLA, so I guess he really likes that market. So, that's another thing that, that they should worry about is how long is LeBron going to stay. And then even the players that has followed him, like Mike Miller and James Jones, signed a one-year deal today. These are one-year deals. These are come help me win a championship, and we'll see where we are next year. And so, part of the NBA is players want stability. Players want 4 or 5 year deals. But actually, the way it's going, even we saw Lance Stevenson today. He signed a 3-year deal when he was offered 5 from the Pacers. So it's really interesting, honestly, on how these contracts are working out with these guys.
I think Lance is banking on himself. I think he's saying, I want to, I'm making, because I read something that, because Lance is averaging like $9 million or something a year, and I read something that was talking about how he ended up, if he wanted to take less years in Indiana, they were going to pay him less, which is why he went to the Hornets, because he's banking on himself being an all-star and being able to get a really big contract this next go-around.
Right. I agree with you. I think he's trying to pull the whole LeBron, sign a 3-year deal. When I get done with this 3-year deal, I'll be eligible for a max contract.
Right.
But who's to say you're going to be worth max contract money? You might be a bum.
True.
You might end up being a bum, and then you're having to sign vet minimum. So, yeah, I think you're right. He is banking on himself, and he's banking on that new CBA to allow him to get more money. But I don't think he really wanted to stay in Indiana anyway, though. That's just my personal opinion, though.
I kind of felt that way, too.
Yeah.
You guys live down in Indiana, so you guys probably have more inside scoop than me, but it just kind of felt that way for me, too.
Cortland, you're up in Indy. I mean, I'm sure you got Pacer fan friends or people, you've been in discussions with lots of Pacer fans. Was he a guy that they all wanted to keep? I feel like he kind of was, at least from a fan perspective.
Yeah, honestly, behind all the, trash talk about him and his attitude and whatnot, bottom line is he can play, and he and David West were the only ones that showed mental toughness, was not scared of the Heat, was not scared of LeBron, and people wanted him here. I mean, really, they did. They really felt like he added value to the team, so I don't think they're necessarily sad to see him go, but I think they know, in the back of their minds that he was a good piece. So, but I think people have faith in Donnie Walsh and Larry Bird here to, fill the gaps as necessary. Before we got on here, I don't know if you guys just saw the Pacers just signed Rodney Stuckey. So I think that's a good move because he can run the point. I think you can move George Hill to the bench so he can come off the bench to play his natural combo guard, and then C.J. Miles can come in and play the 2 guard. Honestly, I still think the Pacers take a step down. I still don't think they're going to be good as they were last year, but at least they have some type of plan, as opposed to the Lakers who just seem to not have a plan and just out in L.A. partying and signing whoever.
Oh, fantastic. Let me be into a new question. So, who's your favorite to win the East?
Okay, before you answer this.
Oh, come on.
Before you, this is related. This is related, and it's based on the last 2 topics: the Lance question and then Matt's question. Right? The Heat obviously were the only team better than the Pacers the last 2 years. I mean, this year the Pacers didn't play all that great, particularly late. But so that means with what the Heat have gone. Wouldn't signing of Lance just have them the front runner to begin with, and then, like Matt said, since they're probably not, you said they take a step back. The Heat take a step back. Who is the front runner?
You know what? I think LeBron James is so good. I think when he moves teams, he literally brings an impact. He's that type of player that when he changes teams, they're the favorites to me. The Cleveland Cavaliers are the favorite in the East. With Kyrie, he's never, ever played with anybody that has Kyrie's ability, in the backcourt. Wiggins, I wasn't really that high on Wiggins, but now LeBron come and take so much pressure off of him, so all he has to do literally is defend and hit open jumpers. Literally, it's all he has to do. And so with those 3, and then they, like I said, they just signed shooters. We know LeBron likes to play with 3-point shooters. Even without Kevin Love, I think they're the favorites to win the East. Yeah, and I mean, I think, like you said, the Heat and the Pacers, they'll be there in the mix, but I still think the Cavs are the favorite in the East.
Yes. I love this guy. This is exactly what I just said. That's exactly what I said last week. LeBron James is that good. Brett doesn't believe us.
Okay, here's why.
The injured superstar.
I went with the Bulls. I'm expecting, Derrick Rose to be healthy.
I don't know, Brett. Someone looks at him wrong. He's gonna get hurt.
You can't guarantee anything. But I'm saying, as constructed, and if they can all play healthy, I think the Bulls at least would give Cleveland. I mean, I picked them, but I think that at worst they'd have to be the 2 because, I mean, especially with Powell there. Powell is more of an offensive, player. I think he'd work good with, especially getting the ball movement going there, since Derrick Rose has to be like a ball-dominant guy, and there's not a lot of other offensive pieces there, that he's going to help kind of spread it out a little bit. He's got some good mid-range, moving the ball, passing, skill-wise. I think he's just the guy that is going to help them offensively when, that's been basically their problem for the last 3-4 years.
They got Dougie McBuckets, your favorite player, Brett.
Yeah, I do like the Bulls, man, and honestly, if Carmelo would have went to the Bulls, they would have been my favorite, and they would have been almost unbeatable. Seriously,
dude, they would have been.
Said scoring is their big, that's their Achilles heel. This is when they get down in games, they play great defense, but they lack scoring. Obviously, with Derrick Rose, but Carmelo would have put them over the hump. But since he went back to New York and basically essentially signed a max deal. Oh, you took 5%.
You took $5 million less. Oh boy.
A pay cut. Like, that's not even close to what like Dwayne Wade and Ron kind of pay cuts they could. They could have made max money and they signed for way less. So yeah, Chicago would have been my favorite if they would have landed Melo, but right now I gotta say Cleveland.
All right. And mentioning Melo, the guy takes the money in New York. Probably not going to win championships there, at least short term. Who knows whether it'll be 3, 4, 5 years with Phil there doing his thing, and maybe Derek Fisher becomes a good coach. And I think it's funny, people criticize him for taking money and not going to a team that wins. But then, 4 years ago when LeBron and Bosch and Wade all took less money to go to teams that were going to win. They got criticized for trying to win and not taking money. Like, whatever you do in this league, you're not going to win, whether it's the money thing or whether it's not chasing championships.
I agree. The only problem I had with Melo is before free agency happened, he was going out in the media and saying, I want to win, and winning's going to be a priority, and, I want to win now. And then, to me, you walk into Chicago's office, which is your best situation to win, and then you don't sign. You go for the money. I don't have no problem with these athletes going for the money because, there's nothing wrong with securing a good future for yourself and your family and your family's family on down the line. I'm totally for it. But don't say that, winning is a priority, and then at the end of the day, you go to New York for near max money, because their team's horrible. Look at the roster; it's horrible.
Yeah, Jose Calderon.
Yeah. He's going to be playing with Calderon and Tim Hardaway Jr., Shump. They traded away their next best player to me, which was Tyson Chandler, former Defensive Player of the Year. So
they got Amari Stoudemire.
Amari's money is still on the roster.
And Mariani.
He alone is the only reason they're like over the luxury tax is because Amari's got $24 million on the cap, or $23.5 on the cap.
Yeah, man, they've made some very questionable decisions as far as acquiring players and signing players. I don't get it in New York.
I think at the very least, I know. I was a fan of Clay Anthony early. I thought getting him in the second round. And then the Greek Freak's brother also in the second round. At the very least, they got some good young guys for potential-wise. But, for what's going to happen in the next 2 years, they're not probably going to help a whole lot. But, speaking of
Phil will get that team turned around. Do
you have faith in Phil to make those basketball moves like that? I don't know if I do. He's a great coach, but
he's in a really bad situation with New York. He's got a lot of bad contracts on his hand. I don't know.
Andrea Bargnani?
He kind of, I don't know. It's too early to tell. He needs a couple of years to kind of try and figure things out. And right now his triangle offense, Melo will be the focal point of it. So,
right.
He's got Derek Fisher, who a lot of people seem to like. Oh, and guess what? Kevin Durant has a very good relationship with Derek Fisher. So maybe when Kevin Durant becomes a free agent, he'll go to New York.
Let the speculation begin.
Hey, this free agency, for the most part, all the exciting stuff is already over, right? So why not start speculating on future free agencies right now? This is like doing like a 2016 NFL mock draft, for like freshmen and sophomores in college at this point.
Or, right. You know what? Houston, they missed out on their max deal with Bosch. That's okay. Hey, just save money. When Durant becomes a free agent, he can come play with his buddy James Harden. Houston can have their own big three. Oh, boy, that would be ridiculous.
They would have some problems. And Brett mentioned to me on Twitter some of the true 2015 free agents like Marc Gasol, Aldridge. Some of those players are going to be, key. It seems like Aldridge is going to stay in Portland.
I think he's going to stay too, yeah.
But you never know. DeAndre Jordan his contract's coming up as well. And I think whoever gets Love, DeAndre Jordan would be a nice add to him. That front court would be pretty amazing. So, 2015 is going to be big, but yeah, 2016 is obviously going to be, the next big free agent signing.
All right, sweet. And we mentioned off camera before we start recording, you're a Duke guy, so you probably watched a lot of Duke basketball games.
Mm-hmm.
Jabari!
We're from Wisconsin. We're Bucks fans, right? Unfortunately, that team's garbage. But
hey, come on.
Hey, I love them. I wish they do well. It just isn't going to happen probably for like another year or two. But Jabari, where do you think he fits in, as a player in the NBA and, with the Bucks and the Greek Freak?
I think Jabari is going to be a star in the NBA, hands down. I think he was the best player available in the draft. honestly, if I was in the Cavs GM office, I would have chosen him over Wiggins. I think he's a phenomenal player on both sides of the basketball. I think, and what was crazy is he actually wanted to be in Milwaukee from everything that I read, which is great because most people that go there hate it and don't want to be there. So for someone that good that actually wants to be there, I think it's great for the Bucks. I mean, obviously they're going to have some growing pains, of course, but if they can play through that and continue to add players to the draft, maybe sign a few good free agents over the next couple of years, I think they can build a good team.
You said he's a good all-around player. I mean, I know at Duke, too, he was oftentimes, at least defensively, I feel like, being the center. He was the biggest guy on the court. So, like, his defensive efficiency, I think, coming in to the draft, was a little, I mean, it was viewed negatively, but, I mean, he was obviously playing way out of position. And then on an offensive, I mean, is he an all-around guy? Like, who would you compare him to offensively, and what are your thoughts on him defensively?
That's a great question on who I would compare him to offensively. I first of all, let's go defensively. Yeah, I think he was a little underrated, like you said. He played out of position. He sometimes played guys a little bit bigger and stronger than him. But to me, one of the biggest things I look for defensively in a player is simply effort. If someone actually gives the effort and hustles on defense, I really think that's big and it goes a long way. I don't necessarily think defense is like a God-given talent, like we see on the offensive end. I think it's more about effort than anything, and I think he's a hard-working player. And so I think he'll continue to get better at it and grow as an NBA player. Offensively, man, that's a really good question. Because like you said, he played so much out of position at Duke. He played a lot on the low block. And he offensive rebound, he shot threes, so he was almost like Kevin Love-ish in Duke. Obviously, he won't be that way in the NBA. He'll be more on the wing. He could be. I think he shoots better than LeBron, but he's not quite the shooter that Durant is. So, I think you may see like a streaky Durant type player. But not like on the wing more, just because he shoots it real good from everywhere around the court, and he handles the ball pretty decent too. So, obviously it's going to be somewhere between. He's going to be obviously better than Josh Smith, but right below Durant. Right. He'll be better than him, but he won't quite be the LeBron Durant. So he'll be sort of in the middle there, which I know is a big gap, but. That's kind of where I'm looking at.
All right, right on. Let's see, I mean, is there anything, at least basketball-wise right now, that, Matt, you want to discuss, or maybe Cortland, other things that we haven't mentioned to this point throughout this podcast?
Hit on all the big things.
Matt's thinking.
Oh, so as a Laker fan, what do you think of Julius Randle?
Man, Julius Randle, really good player. 6'9", 240, something like that. He's a prototypical power forward. Before the draft, I was very worried about his health. Hearing different reports about his foot and he needs surgery, and then he actually tweeted at Woj at Yahoo and told him that he needed to check his sources and his foot's healthy. But then when he got drafted, they actually sent him here to Indianapolis to see a foot specialist. So, I continue to be kind of worried about that. But, Julius is a really great player. He's very, very active in the paint and on the boards, which, we need. We need anything. So, I hope he's a good player. I hope he ends up being a really good player for us. And, he could end up being a star, really. But you just never know with those guys. And I was talking to a couple of my friends that are Lakers fans as well, and, I told them that, I would offer him for love. I would get in the conversation, and they said, well, I don't like it to trade our picks. And I just don't people don't understand. Kevin Love is doing everything you want in a player right now. And there's nothing like getting a player that's doing what you want right now. I mean, yeah, Randall could be a 2010 guy, maybe. Or he could end up being DeJuan Blair. You just never know. So I like Randall, but I definitely would throw him in the discussion with. I would offer him to Minnesota and see what they're looking for. It seems like they're looking for a young wing player like Wiggins or Klay Thompson, but it's never hurts to pick up the phone and start the conversation.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I mean, people don't understand. Kevin Love is only 25 years old. He is just entering the prime of his career.
Yes. He literally he's this day and age as Moses Malone pretty much. And Moses is one of the most underrated players in NBA history. So, I don't get it. Like I said, if their person's name is not LeBron or Durant, I'm listening to Kevin Love conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
Do either of you hold it against him for, I mean, that team obviously doesn't have any good players, but for at least not getting that team to the playoffs at some point? I mean, again, the West right now is super stacked. So, I mean, it's going to be hard to carry. But, I mean...
Have you seen Ricky Rubio play? The guy can't shoot at all. Like, he has a liability. If I'm the other team, I'm just going to double team Kevin Love every play because I don't have to worry about Ricky Rubio shooting. He's awful.
Well, that's kind of what teams did a little bit.
And that's what they did.
Earlier in Rondo's career, though, they did the same thing. Like, you could leave Rondo open from, like, anything more than 8 feet, and the guy's not going to make it.
I agree. No, I don't count anything against them because they're horrible, literally. I mean, they're horrible. I mean, Corey Brewer, Rubio. I don't even know who's on that team. Do they still have Luke Rittenauer?
Yeah, they did have Rittenauer, didn't they?
Yeah, that team is horrible.
Let's see, I'm going to look at it here. I'm going to see who's all on the cap for them. Their cap space is probably pretty good, though, right? No, it's not. What is happening?
I would hope so.
Who are they paying money to?
They got some. They got.
Well, they got the center. That center they signed to a
Pekovic.
Yeah, he's a monster, by the way. I don't know if you're good at basketball, but the dude's a monster.
Yeah, they got Kevin Martin, Chase Budinger, Corey Brewer, Ricky Rubio, my boy Jose Barea for beating LeBron in the first finals. Alexi Shved.
Oh, Shved!
No
and
one
Luke
on that
that
list intrigues me at all. And there's one player just can't do it. I mean, no matter how good they are, one player just can't, especially in the league today. Like, there's too many talented players, especially, again, they play in the West, and so they have to see legitimate teams night in and night out, and I don't blame him at all. That team's horrible. He consistently averages, again, 26 and 12. He shoots really good I think he's over 50% from the field and shoots pretty good from three. So, what more could he do? The only thing I may discount is he's not a great defensive player.
He's not a super good defense. But in my opinion, too, rebounds, it doesn't change possession until you get the rebound, right? So,
right.
That's what I think.
Exactly.
All right, so we mentioned the West, how tough it is. Spurs, are we all just going to assume they're coming into this year?
I don't see any reason why not. I mean, they brought back everybody for basically less money because they know they're good. Kawhi is getting better by the year. I don't see no one made any moves in free agency or the draft that showed me that they could beat the Spurs 4 times.
I think the Spurs' biggest challenge will actually be making it out of the West. I think if they can get to the finals, I think they can win it again. But I honestly think they didn't have to play. They didn't have to play Houston. Instead, they got stuck playing Portland, who they smoked. Did they play? Let's see. They played. Who they went through? They took the Mavs to 7 games, which is crazy when I think about it.
And the Mavs got better.
And then well, I mean, Ibaka was hurt, so whatever you want to make of that. But athletic teams are always going to kind of give them problems. So if the Spurs can stay healthy, they'll still contend. I just really think that if they don't make it, if they make it to the finals out of the West, I think they'll win it. But it wouldn't surprise me if they lost to a team in the West either.
What team do you think poses the biggest threat to them?
I would really like to.
Would have been an easy answer had Houston done what they had planned the whole time.
Yeah, if Houston would have done what I wanted them to. If they would have landed Bosch, I would have said Houston for sure. But they didn't. I don't know. I want to say Houston just because they didn't play them last year in the playoffs, and I really think they lucked out by playing Portland, who was inexperienced when it came to the playoffs in that time. Like Portland will be better just because now their young guys have experience and all that good stuff. But I don't know. For some reason, I just want to say Houston. I don't really have any better reason for you.
I just don't think Houston got better. I think they got worse. You know, their starting point guard is Patrick Beverly, who, to me, just, you know, I mean, he's a hustle guy.
He's a lockdown defensive
guy that you need out there, but not much more from an offensive standpoint.
Exactly. And then, you know, you went from Parsons to Ariza, which, like I said, Ariza at this point in the career is not better than Parsons. You know, Asic and Lynn came off the bench, and they were actually okay off the bench. And now you don't have that. So now you turn to Terrence Jones. I just don't think they got any better. I really don't, man. And honestly, the Portland is going to be better because Damian Lillard, to me, is another young player that's getting better. You know, LaMarcus Aldridge just destroyed you. So to me, I would probably just have to say OKC is their biggest threat. Maybe or the Clippers.
That's a good point.
Do you view, based on the additions and how close, you know, the Mavericks came to beating them? You know, they added, you mentioned Tyson Chandler Parsons, Raymond Felton, Rashard Lewis they signed in the offseason, who actually kind of had a little mini breakout re-entry into the league with the Heat.
Yeah.
You know, this year. Re-signed Devin Harris. I mean, is that a roster that would scare San Antonio or Oklahoma City?
I think so. You know, definitely. They got way better to me. They were a team that, you know, missed out on players as well because they wanted Bosch. Bosch is from Dallas, so they wanted Bosch. They wanted Melo, and they missed out, but they turned around and they made it happen. They got Dirk to re-sign for way less,
like $10 million or something.
I think it was $10 million, basically the Tim Duncan contract, essentially.
That's what it was, yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I do think that the Mavs could give the Spurs a run. I absolutely do.
And it would have been interesting too to see, you know, I mean, I know Ibaka played, right? But I mean, I don't know how healthy he truly was. And hell, those first two games, at least, it was like, oh, okay, when he came back, they made it interesting. No, but maybe he kind of re-aggravated. I don't know. He just wasn't the same effect the last couple games when the Spurs won. But I think, overall we mentioned it, that West, especially at the top, but even in the middle. You look at it, Phoenix should have got it. Phoenix would have been a 4 seed in the East and didn't even make the playoffs in the West.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's the competition in the West is just crazy, and then we haven't even mentioned Golden State, who is young.
Golden State,
and their backcourt is ridiculous. And if they catch fire, you're not going to beat them. And then, you know, they have David Lee, and they didn't even have Bogut. If they would have had Bogut, they probably would have beat the Clippers. So, we didn't even talk about the Clippers. If they trade for Kevin Love, I'm telling you, they're going to be a problem.
So, you think Love would put them right over the top there if they got rid of Tom? I mean, because Clay's, at least from a shooter's perspective, is kind of what I think they like. I mean, Kevin can hit the 3 as well and probably add some size, but do you think Kevin Love would put Golden State right up at the top then?
Honestly, they would be up there to me. I mean, I don't know if I would say I put them above the Spurs, but I mean, you're talking about Steph. You're talking about Kevin Love, and if Bogut can get healthy and stay healthy, if Barnes can step up, and then they have Iggy, who's their defensive gem on the perimeter, and then oh man, there was a guy Draymond Green.
Draymond Green, yeah.
Yep.
He impressed me a lot because he had to guard. He's only 6'7". They put him on Blake Griffin, and he really did an okay job. I mean, Blake didn't kill him. Blake still did what he did, but I was really impressed with him, his defensive ability, and the way he hit open jumpers against the Clippers. So, yeah, I really think with Love, they're right there at the top of the conversation.
Looking at their roster, I mean, they signed Sean Livingston. And you mentioned Iggy, obviously Steph Curry. If they give up Clay, because he's going to have to be involved in a trade. There's no way that Minnesota would take anything less than Klay Thompson plus others of
Right.
Love. But that would be their entire backcourt. I mean, it would be Curry, Livingston, and then you'd have to slide Iggy down to shooting guard instead of small forward. Does that concern you at all? I mean, or is there maybe a guard out there they could try to go sign?
You know what? It really doesn't concern me. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Matt?
I feel like I think I agree. I think if they got Kevin Love, I think it would put them at another level. I mean, they would obviously have to give away Thompson. They'd probably have to give away a draft pick. Probably have to give away Harrison Barnes.
Can you give away David Lee's contract instead?
David Lee. I think that's what the rumored trade was going to be all those guys plus a draft pick for Kevin Love. Yeah, I don't know. That would be a fun lineup, and it'll be interesting to see how Steve Kerr would manage it, I suppose, too. Is Steph Curry, though, do you think is he a combo guard or is he a true point guard?
I would say he's a combo guy because, I mean, they need him to score to win. When he doesn't play well, they don't win. So that's why I don't really think that giving up Klay Thompson is that big of a deal. Honestly, Klay Thompson is somewhat of an inconsistent guy. It's just that when he gets hot, he's red hot. And so because you have Curry, who to me is more of a combo guard, and then you have Iggy who can step up and play the two, and he could probably guard any two guard in the game right now, I don't really think that drops him down that much. I still think they get better because right now they're trying to give up Barnes and Lee and a pick for Love, and obviously, like Brett said, there's no trade happening without Klay. So I mean, Klay and David Lee in a first-round pick, I would give up. Like dial the fax number in Minnesota right now, sign it off. Get Kevin Love a plane to the LAX right now because we need to make that deal. I don't understand why it's taking so long. To me, that's a no-brainer.
I think we're all in agreement. I think I will put a lot of money down that Minnesota trades Kevin Love before the end of the season. They're going to get something for him instead of getting absolutely nothing for him. So I think they're just weighing their options right now.
Yeah, I mean, my idea was, because the entire season, this past season, everyone's like, well, when are they going to trade Love? Obviously, it never happened. My idea was, well, just hold him for as long as you can. Wait for someone to either get desperate or just say, well, just wait till free agency, which is a gamble for other teams to wait until free agency. But I was like, maybe you guys randomly somehow perform better and you actually make the playoffs with Kevin Love. But looking at Minnesota's roster, that's not happening. So there's definitely going to be a trade because they got to get something back, right? I mean, you can't
just get something.
Walk.
The thing is, though, to me, the longer they wait, the more leverage they're going to lose because you've already lost some leverage because everyone in the league knows that Kevin Love does not want to be there. So you've already lost some leverage. Anytime a player comes out and says, "I want to leave," the value that you're going to get just catapults. So the longer they wait, the more people know that, well, they already know that Kevin Love's leaving at the end of the year. So you're going to have to trade him if you want something. So the longer they wait, the less leverage they're going to lose. And then, if they don't trade him, then obviously they're going to get nothing. So they're going to have to pull the trigger. Like Matt said, I put money down that unless they're insane and they're just going to let an asset walk out the door, then you have to move them for something.
Right on. Again, I think for the most part we're pretty much winding down here on NBA stuff. But you mentioned, you're a big football guy. That's something you follow the most. You happy with where the Colts are at right now?
Yes, I'm extremely happy with where the Colts are right now. They are ahead of schedule. Uh, they're more ahead of schedule than actually people realize. Because anytime you lose an iconic player like Peyton Manning, you're generally supposed to suck for a while. You're supposed to take your lumps and growing pains and build to the draft. But
Yeah, I can relate to that. You're supposed to suck too.
but they're doing a great job. I loved the free agency. I wasn't in love with the draft, but I trust Greason with some of his decisions that he's made. So, but I loved free agency. I love Arthur Jones on the defensive line. I love giving Hakeem Nicks a 1-year show me contract to see what he can do because when healthy, he's a phenomenal player. I love what we're doing right now, and I love the defense that we're building, the new 3-4 concept that we took from Baltimore. I think it's going to work eventually as soon as we get the personnel. But I love what the Colts are doing so far, and I really think that we can. It's legitimate for us to think championship in 3 to 4 years.
Oh, I completely agree with you on your Colts. I think I told my buddy at work today. I was like, we were talking about different teams and stuff. I'm like, man, the Colts is like, they just need 1 or 2 more years. They just need to get some more pieces around. And dude, Andrew Luck, book it. At one point, he will be the best quarterback in the league. Like
Yes.
he's that good, and like the what he's able to do with the talent he has around him already. I mean, as soon as they get some more defensive pieces and a little bit more offensive pieces to help him, where he doesn't have to carry the team so much, I think the Colts are going to be one of the better teams in the league coming up here for sure.
But that offensive line, right? Who's the center? You guys signed a center, and I know you wanted to go for Mack to be the actual starter. You didn't. The center you signed retired a couple of weeks later, and then you missed out on Mack. Who's snapping the ball and calling out plays for that line right now?
I think they're going to give the job to Khalid Holmes. I think it's his job to lose right now. So I mean, and honestly, that is the biggest point. That's the biggest shaky point to me with the Colts right now is the offensive line. But they're going to give Khalid Holmes a shot, and we're going to see what he can do, man. I mean, yeah, we missed out on Mack. I wanted Mack pretty much any Colts fan who had any idea of what's going on wanted Mack. But that was pretty much a really hard situation because they put that tender out on him, and Cleveland already said they were going to match pretty much anything. And so it's really hard. It was really hard to get him. So, but I mean, we have to work with what we got, and I hope that we can continue to build that line and those guys get better. 'Cause some of those guys are young, so we just gotta hope that they mature and grow a pair.
Matt, did you have something you're about to say?
I did. So as a Colts fan, gotta ask you,
I was going to ask this too. I have a feeling.
how do you feel about the Trent Richardson trade?
It's funny. I get this all the time. Even when I go out of town, everyone asks me about that. I still love it. There was no one, to me, drafted around the pick that we traded. There was no one better than him. I still think he's a great player. I think he was very much confused with our complex West Coast system that we ran. I think he came in, and it was hard for him to come in the middle of the season and really grasp that. Now that's not an excuse.
SEC.
Come on, Brett, let's be classy here.
I think it's reality. I just think he didn't get it, and I think with the off season and OTAs, I think he'll get it, man. And I'm
hope he gets it
right now. Book, you can fave this. You can.
Oh, it's on YouTube right now as we speak. This is live.
Trent Richardson will rush for over 1,000 yards this year.
No,
you heard it here first. You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. Oh, are you gonna say he's gonna be a Pro Bowler?
I won't say that because there's a lot of other guys. I mean, there's some really good talent in the AFC. You got Charles and then I think CJ is gonna do well at the Jets. This is Ridley's contract year, so I think he's gonna do really well too. I think Le'Veon Bell is gonna be in the mix.
I'll give you Bell. Bell will be a beast.
I love the kid in Cincinnati, Giovanni. I love
Bernard.
him. Yeah, and he's running reps for the first team. So there's a lot of guys that are gonna be probably on that ticket a little bit better than him. But I think he's gonna do well. I think we're gonna see some flashes of his rookie year.
Okay. Okay.
I think getting into that question, because I know you like all three of these guys. I'm pretty sure you're a fan of. Of those Alabama running backs that have come out, which one of them is your favorite?
Well, my favorite and who I think is the best guy is two different things.
Okay,
Obviously,
answer them both.
yeah. Honestly, I like Trent. I like
One of
him.
your answers isn't who I'm hoping it is. I'm gonna be very upset.
I love Trent, and I think he was awesome when he was at Alabama, and I think he got screwed out of the Heisman. But Eddie Lacy's the best guy. I mean, he's a savage, and he's
a beast.
I mean, he's huge, but he's gotten into shape, and like he really gave Green Bay that was one of the best fits that I've seen in a long time for when a team drafted him, because obviously Green Bay's running game has been terrible before him. With all those guys they had, Ryan Grant was to me not a good player. He just wasn't, and they really tried to push the envelope with him. So when they drafted Lacy, and the way he played after he came back on that concussion, dude, he's a beast. And I'm gonna try everything in my power to get him on my fantasy team.
And he did. I mean, when Rodgers went down, it was basically let's lean on Eddie because Scott told me the first game it was
Seneca Wallace.
Seneca Wallace got hurt in the first game, so we put a dude that just got called up from practice squad in to start for the next 3 weeks before shit, let's get Matt Flynn in there. And it was just lean on Eddie time for that, other than that second half against Dallas, which was wonderful. Yeah, man.
I will make this point though. I think Mark Ingram gets a bad rap.
Yes.
He just doesn't get opportunities.
Yeah.
There were times, especially last season, I thought that he would get the ball and he looked like he was running pretty hard and would get a decent gain, and then all of a sudden, Pierre Thomas, come on in. Hey, Will Smith, come on in.
Come in for a certain play. I mean, did they have another cat on the team?
Another guy too, yeah.
I mean, that team was just stacked at running back.
I don't think Ingram can play. He just doesn't get the opportunities.
Yeah, I think New Orleans is running back hell. I mean, I really do. I think running backs go there, and I think they get lost in the shuffle because they throw the ball so much, and that's a focal point of their offense. With that Air Cornell system that they run and the timing routes and things of that nature. And God bless them, they won a Super Bowl off that, and Drew Brees is a future Hall of Famer, but. I don't think Ingram gets enough credit. I didn't think that Sproles got enough credit. I didn't think that Reggie Bush really got enough opportunity there. And then, as soon as he goes to Detroit, I mean, you saw flashes of it in Miami, but as soon as he goes to Detroit, I mean, he had a great season last year. Obviously, yeah. So I hate New Orleans for a running back, and I feel bad for Ingram, and I think this is a contract year for him. So. I hope he does well enough to attract a good contract and go somewhere where, they'll let him get into a power running game.
Who are some, off the top of your head, do you know any running back needy teams, either of you, that I'm just trying to think of where he would be a good landing spot? I mean, we got...
Man.
Tennessee.
Miami!
Yeah. Miami
doesn't sound like he's working out very well there.
Yeah, it sounds like Lamar is actually, I guess, once again, showing them good flashes, which he did last year. He showed them good flashes in training camp and in preseason, and then when the season started, he just kind of just said whatever. But
tell my fantasy team about it. That was a terrible draft pick.
I don't know. Look for New England to address running back next season. I don't think they're going to bring back. I just mentioned his name too, and I forgot his name.
Well, they got Green Ridley.
Ridley, that's
Ridley. Yeah. This is a contract year for Ridley, and I don't think they're going to bring him back. So yeah, look for them to be in the market for a running back. Depending on how Trent does, we might be, but I think Trent will do fine. But yeah, off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone else that would maybe Atlanta might want to look at one when Steven Jackson's contract's up.
That's true.
Possibly. Yeah. So, which I think he's done. I don't think he's going to be serviceable really anymore. I think he's over the age of 30. He turned 30 over the offseason, I think, and that's kind of the breaking point for running backs. You know, I was doing some research one time, and I literally could only find a handful of running backs that rush for 1,000 yards after 30.
Yeah, there's only a few of them. 30 is the...
Matt, what did you want Green Bay to do when Steven was a free agent?
I didn't want them to do anything. I mean, okay, fine, I'll admit it. I'll admit it. I was calling for him to come to Green Bay, and then when he didn't, I was pissed. And then we drafted Lacey instead, and I was very happy that I was wrong.
It's just funny because, you know, as Packers fans, you know, free agency for us
is a painful
time of year. We never do anything. We just sit there with our hands, you know, or sitting on our hands and not signing many guys. So it's like every year you hear people just, what is Ted Thompson doing? He's the worst. And then, you know, that following year it's like, oh, shit, we're back in the playoffs. I guess we didn't do so bad. You know, and
how do you guys feel about Capers? I know he was getting a lot of heat in the offseason from fans, and you know, they don't like his defense. What do you guys – I'll be interested to hear from Packers fans. What do you guys think of Capers?
This is it, man. Make or break year. Make or break year. I swear, if our defense is in the top 15, he should be canned. He should be fired. We can't do this. We had a top 5 offense still last year, and Aaron Rodgers was hurt half the year. Yet we had the 26th ranked defense. I mean, this is it. We signed Julius Peppers. We just re-signed Sam Shields to a long contract. We've drafted defense year after year. It's got to happen this year. There's no more excuses. No more. It's done. He has to improve the defense significantly, or he's canned. Get him out of here. You know what? No, I've thought ahead of it. I've thought ahead of this, guys. This is what we can do. Rex Ryan's going to get fired at the end of the year. We can fire Capers and bring him in. Rex Ryan can run our defense.
That'd be a new scheme. That'd be a new scheme. So you'd have to get a couple of players.
No. When they both run the 3-4.
Different types of 3-4.
I mean, sure, it's an attacking 3.
I think he got too much put on Capers. I mean, Clay Matthews was injured.
Oh my goodness.
Our safeties combined for 0 interceptions.
That's because Capers is putting them out of position.
No, our guys just stink. All right, I don't know who our safeties coach is, but maybe he should be the one getting fired. BJ Raji hasn't had a sack in like 2 years.
You know why? Because Capers thought it was a bright idea to move him from nose tackle, where he was a star, to defensive end. Whose bright idea was that?
Okay, well that's where he's listed, but let's be fair. They're playing 2 down linemen most of the time anyway. We're never actually having 3 linemen because base defense with 3 linemen just isn't a thing in the NFL anymore. We usually got 2 dudes because you're in nickel all the time. So, I mean, he's basically pass rushing like 67% of the plays, and he still gets no sacks. There's a reason there wasn't a big market for the dude in free agency, all right? Like, he tested it, didn't find a lot, and he's like, all right, I'll come back on a 1-year show-me deal, which I think is a great deal because then if he...
All those deals.
It's kind of like that Hakeem Nicks, you know, show me what you got. I mean, it's just going to show the rest of the NFL, and you could leave us if you want to, but, I mean, you know, if you're going to want to get paid, you're going to have to play a lot better.
Brett, we let Colin Kaepernick pass for 400 yards against us. The guy barely managed to pass for 200 yards like 6 games out of the year. He passed for 400 yards against us.
And you know, we were in position to win that game as long as Jarrett Bush doesn't jump on that blitz and lose contain for that first time.
I'm sorry, I meant the regular season game. That's not the playoff game.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm saying playoff game, he ran all over us, which was just a totally different story and kind of similar to the previous year's playoff game, which was
I hate the 49ers. Sorry, 49ers fans that listen to this. I dislike your team very much.
How much do you dislike? On a scale of 1 to 10.
They're an 11. They're like right. This hurts me because obviously the Bears are a huge rival, but oh my goodness, the 49ers drive me nuts. And it starts with their head coach. The guy cries at every little thing. I hate that. Oh, it's just infuriating. Oh, and this is the other thing that bugs me. So Aaron Rodgers is from California, right? Oh, you know, you think he'd like to, you know, kicked the crap out of his, old team that he used to root for. Colin Kaepernick used to be a Packer fan. What does he do? Comes to Green Bay and kicks our ass. But no, Aaron Rodgers can't do that. Heaven forbid.
Being a Packers fan over the last 5 years, we'll say 7, just to bring it back to that first Super Bowl. Hating on the Giants and hating San Francisco has become really easy come playoff time because it always seems that they're the ones that just knock us out. And I don't even feel, at least that first Giants team, yeah, they won they won both those Super Bowls. I didn't think they were even good teams. Like, there was just the worst mind of all time. Editing myself here. But how did we?
Throwing a pick in overtime?
Oh well, that's to be expected. To be fair, I wasn't a Packers fan in 2007 because Brett Favre was still on the team. He's the reason I wasn't a Packers fan.
How can you call yourself a Packer fan? You hate Brett Favre.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. I blame my older sister. All right, she's 8 years older. She taught me everything I knew growing up.
Were you a Lions fan, Brett?
From video games to whatever, and she was a Bears and a San Francisco fan. I think San Francisco because they actually won in the playoffs, and then the Bears because they were the biggest rival. So, I had a San Francisco and a Bears blanket growing up I used to cuddle under. That's who I would root for. Then when I was like, all right, I don't want to root for these teams anymore, I just started rooting for guys that were former Badgers. It was just kind of like a player's guy, kind of like how a lot of NBA fans seem to be. Most of them are.
Listen, when your team sucks, what do you want me to do? Okay? Give me a break.
I sympathize with you because I'm not really a Peyton Manning fan much. I never was. I mean, obviously he's one of the best ever, but that playoff record just really irks me. And every time that I get the notion where I'm like, he's really good, then I think about being 10-12 or whatever he is in the playoffs, and then just getting completely waxed in the Super Bowl. Waxed. I mean, they were the #1 offense, I think, in the history of the league, statistically. And they just got shut down completely. And I'm just like, okay, I knew it was going to be tough for them, but that was bad. That was really bad.
Man, as a Colts fan, you can probably relate a lot to us. There were numerous years where we had Brett Favre, and we were supposed to be really good, and then come playoff time, we lose somehow. Numerous years. And now when I think about it, the Colts were a lot in the same way, where they would play the Patriots, and the Patriots would win.
Yeah. And the Chargers, I feel like the Chargers were a big team.
Oh my goodness, the Chargers too.
No, if you want to talk about teams that underperformed, those Chargers teams, when they would go 13 wins, 12 wins every year, then not even win their first game, that's an underperforming franchise.
I agree. 1 year they lost to the Jets, I think, and then that 1 year they got stomped in the conference finals by the Patriots. And then they got really emotional because the Patriots were celebrating in the middle of the field doing Sean Merriman's lights out dance and all that.
You mean a steroid injection dance?
Yeah, quit getting emotional. How about you win and quit getting beat when you're the #1 seed? Don't worry about that kind of stuff. Come out and play. Yeah, they really did underperform, and they were loaded with Pro Bowlers. They definitely underperformed big time.
And there was that one game that I remember. They had that game won against New England.
They picked it off.
They picked it off for the win. And the guy tries to return it, and Troy Brown strips it. And then the Patriots go down and score the game winner. It's like, dude, just fall to the ground. I mean, all you got to do is take a knee, walk off the field, hold the ball up, throw some Gatorade on coach. You guys are having a great day. And then that happened, and it was another one of those things I'll never understand.
Bummer.
But yeah, man. All right, I feel like we're kind of winding down a little bit here. Either of you guys got something else you want to talk about?
No, I'm good.
Because I won't talk soccer with Cortland. I know he's not a big fan of soccer.
I don't know soccer either, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, I just don't get into it much. I don't. First of all, I didn't play growing up, so it's not a game that I understand. And then, yeah, it's just not something I get into. I probably would more if I feel like our better athletes in the United States don't play soccer.
That's what we mentioned that 2 or 3 podcasts ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, can you really think and visualize what if Westbrook played soccer? Like he'd be a savage. Like the dude's like one of the most athletic dudes in the league. He's one of the most athletic athletes.
He's an overall athlete, man. That guy's a freak.
And so players like that just don't play soccer. And it's really hard for me to get into it. I know I have a lot of friends that really get into the English Premier League and stuff like that. It's just not something I follow. And I think one reason is because it's not a sport that I grew up playing, so I don't know a whole lot about it.
Right, and you mentioned the people that we know that follow it. I mean, especially being sport marketing administration majors. A lot of people in sports. Josh gets really big into it. Dr. Clavio is another guy that gets really big into it.
Yeah.
I feel like at the very least, because now that I know them, and I kind of follow like at least what they say, and I listen to Clavio's podcast once in a while, which they get, hell, they're probably shorter than the one we got going on right now. But I feel like I got a little bit more into it. And for me, after watching this, at least just World Cup style, I put it above baseball for me at the moment. Like, baseball season is so boring. 160-plus games, it's so long. I don't care about every single game like you care about every single game in the World Cup or at least, NFL season. Right?
Yeah, I've seen that from multiple people on Twitter that they felt like that baseball is one of a really boring sport. And the thing is it's kind of, honestly, I thought it would be better in person, but I just got back from Chicago a couple weeks ago. When I was there, I had the chance to go to a Cubs game.
Just because you went to a Cubs game.
And I was just like, is this it? Like, this is supposed to be like the holy mecca of baseball? And I mean, it wasn't that exciting. My beers and my whiskey was the highlight. Whiskey there, that was the big thing. And then going to the Cubby Bear, the bar across the street, that was like the most exciting part. The game, I was just kind of like, and then they played the Reds, and I was thinking like, okay, isn't this supposed to be a kind of a rivalry? But no, like, I mean, yeah, it's just not exciting. It just really isn't.
Totally agree. It was funny. I sent a tweet. Now, people favorite and retweet things sometimes because they like it and sometimes because they hate it. But they do the same. And I said, man, I just don't care about every single game of baseball. And a baseball player, like I think he was like a minor leaguer, favorited my status. Like, I don't know if he was using that as what the point was, but I think maybe he even almost agreed. Probably not, but I'd like to think he did,
Right. It's a possibility, yeah.
But so yeah, I think we're winding down here. Cortland, man, thanks for coming on. It was pretty fun. I enjoyed.
This is awesome.
Enjoyed having you on. Provide some good laughs and different, point of views on things. Agreed with Matt mostly, which is cool, I guess. No.
We need to do this again. Like, we need to do this a lot more often, I think.
Hey, I had a blast, man. I love sports as a passion of mine, man. I love it. It's part of my everyday life. So, to speak with you guys on it, on an intellectual level, it was great. I had fun. I laughed. Got some good points, and anytime that you guys want to have me, I'll be more than willing to be here. So I appreciate it.
All right, right on, man. We enjoyed having you. Man, it's too bad we didn't try this during the NFL draft, because I know, like you said, you follow that. We did what, like?
Oh man, we did.
Our first 2 months was just on NFL draft stuff. It was like
I hit on 8 of my picks. 8.
Dude, 8 picks in the first round is pretty good. I'm a little disappointed that I got like 2, which is totally. And the first one was a freebie with Jadeveon Clowney, right? There's a freebie.
Right.
I will say, Matt, before we went on air once, talked me out of a pick.
It's true. I did.
Because he didn't think there was any way, and for some reason I fell for it. And I had Anthony Barr going to Minnesota.
I thought, no way. I didn't see that at all. I was like, what are you doing? You're kidding, right?
That's the kid from UCLA, right?
Yep.
Yeah. The outside linebacker, defensive end.
gosh.
What'd you say, Cortland? Sorry.
I said that he's freakishly athletic.
Definitely. I
And
mean,
yeah.
he's in a 4-3, which is kind of weird in Minnesota because I think he's more of a 3-4 outside linebacker. But I guess maybe in a 4-3 you can kind of utilize him, maybe like Von Miller, like where he'll rush the passer too. But with his athleticism, you hope he can learn how to like drop into coverage and play some zones and stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to work out there.
Kind of afraid for Aaron Rodgers now.
I'm afraid for Luck. I mean, he's got to face Watt, Clowney, and Lewis Nix. And I think Lewis Nix, he was actually supposed to be a top 5 pick, and he didn't really have a great year. But I still think he has talent, and that defensive line in Houston is going to be just a beast. Right behind St. Louis. St. Louis's defensive line is just outrageous. They are studs. But I think Houston's going to be really good too, man.
Well, considering Clowney's already talking smack,
right.
Luck's got to have his head on a swivel with both of us coming.
But that's true. I mean, you look at Watt. He had 20.5 sacks 2 years ago. Last year,
This guy is a defensive tackle.
his sack numbers were down, but Pro Football Focus actually graded him out higher from a disruptive standpoint, and overall is a better player this last year than he was the year before. So he's even getting better. Clowney, Nix, you mentioned it. Man, yeah, you're right. Luck, especially at that center spot with Nix is going to just line up over this dude, and we'll see what happens there. That could be fun.
It's going to be scary.
The bonus though is how Luck is mobile and he's strong. Like he takes 6 hits and just shrugs them off, and he doesn't.
Yeah, you can. I mean, the big thing about Luck is, man, he's just a gamer. I mean that's the thing that was the biggest thing that I saw coming out of college. The guy just can play football. When he gets in the game, his instincts and his awareness are just outrageously ahead of the schedule. And so, I'm really excited for him. When I talk about him, I get excited because he's just that big of a stud player, and he's exciting, and I think he can take us. I think he can take us far. But yeah, he's going to have his hands full in Houston, so we need to make sure our schemes are up to date.
Agreed. All right, man. Well, again, we just went on another 10-minute tangent there, but that's cool. That's what this is all about. Thanks for coming on. We'll do this again.
Thank you.
Maybe. I don't really know what the next big event sort of deal is. I guess football's starting. We got nothing else right now. It's the slow time of summer, but
it's fantasy season, so maybe we can talk fantasy.
Oh, good idea, man.
Yeah, I was actually gonna bring that idea up. Actually, I was talking with some guy at work, and he was like, "Oh, he's like, do you guys do any fantasy podcasts?" And I was like, "No, but that's a good idea."
I see.
Absolutely.
Hey. I like that. See, now we got people suggesting things to us, Matt. We got to get more people to actually watch and comment on our videos on YouTube, though, so we can
watch the videos.
But all right, man, we'll have this up tonight. You guys should all be able to see it pretty quick, because I know none of you are watching this live right now, even though you could be. And yeah, we'll have Cortland on again, man. Thanks again for joining.
No problem. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, guys. See you later.
All right.